So we should move on to the social impact. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that. My understanding of it from you guys is that there was a social impact arm of the Better Business Bureau, but now it's actually spun off into its own freestanding. Is that an accurate understanding?
The Colorado Institute for Social Impact is really interesting. And in general, this idea of social impact and really just social responsibility has been growing. Maybe call it a generational difference, call it whatever. But long story short is it has been growing. What BBB, I mentioned earlier these, the Better Business Bureaus out in the community hanging out, Jonathan, Gina, Stacy, and what they found in when they were out, especially in Colorado Springs here, is number one, we already have a very strong nonprofit foundation here, but what they found is that there's a lot of businesses that are, they're not. So let me back up a little bit. I mentioned earlier, kind of, there's this trend, this change that's happening here in business, and that's part of the reason for all of this CI for SI, that's the Colorado Institute for Social Impact stuff happening, right? Where we're seeing a difference where a lot more for-profit businesses are focusing on their social impact, and that might start out as corporate social responsibility. So they're focusing on the environment, they're focusing on the people within their organizations, and they're focusing on the communities that they're involved with. Meanwhile, on the nonprofit side, we're seeing a trend where hopefully these nonprofits are focusing a little more on their economic engine and maybe acting more like a business and holding themselves accountable, despite just their mission. But what we've seen in Colorado Springs is when we were out in the community is that there's almost like a hybrid, a beautiful balanced hybrid of these two coming out, where we have defined something called a social enterprise. So these are not for-profit businesses. These are not nonprofit businesses. This is a new idea called social enterprise. You might also hear a social business, a conscious capitalist, a benefit corporation. All these organizations, what we see are forming, believe it or not, a new sector. And this is not something that happens every once in a while. This is something I believe Jonathan Lieber always says happens like once every 60 years. There's a quote from the Harvard Business Review. I'll have to get that for you sometime. But anyways, so we're out in the community and we're seeing this in 2016. We're saying, oh my God, we need to organize this. There's so much happening. So in 2016, the Colorado Coalition for Social Impact was first formed, right? And this was just an idea to gather everyone around that's in this fourth sector here in Colorado Springs, just to talk about, like what they need, what the future is, just kind of the beginning of an organization. But what we found out, throughout 2016 is that there was just such a need for so many different things, education, training, because there's really nothing out there for social enterprise. This is like brand new. And I would know, as a digital marketer, I go out and try to curate content for social enterprise, and it's like actually it turns out it doesn't exist. And this is like it's brand new. There's absolutely a need for education. Well, so as CCSI, Colorado Coalition for Impact, Social Impact grew, we decided to actually give that a revamp because let's make this an organization. Let us make an organization that helps bring awareness to this sector, helps bring education, training, consulting for businesses. Thus, the Colorado Institute for Social Impact was formed. I'm going to grab some water here. I'm just talking way too much, Lauren. Side note, fun times. I know most of you are probably listening to this, but I'm actually drinking this out of a social impact business water bottle. This is Mountain Equipment Recyclers. The Colorado Institute for Social Impact was formed. Most Better Business Bureaus have a foundation. We had actually transformed the Better Business Bureau Foundation into the Colorado Institute for Social Impact. So it's actually registered with, what is it, the Secretary of State? Something like that. There's something up there that it's registered with, but it's official, believe me. Anyways, so the Colorado Institute for Social Impact, was formed after this. Again, that idea is really, that we'd love for the social impact economy that we're seeing to power a new business definition of success, right? So what we want to do is harness social impact to accelerate the evolution of business. So there's just, there's so many examples here in Colorado Springs of these social impact businesses, and on a national level, you might recognize companies like Patagonia, New Belgium, Ben and Jerry's. I would say Starbucks even, because they just take such good care of their employees for the most part. And on a local level, there's just so many different organizations. You might have heard of Blue Star Recyclers, Local Relic, Goal Zero, Men's Exchange. And, the list goes on and on. Mountain Creek Recyclers, I just talked about, Merge Aquaponics, and there's so many aspiring entrepreneurs too. But our goal is to help bring awareness and further empower this movement. And we offer a plethora of resources to help do this too. So, we do education and training, with classes, if you need help defining a legal entity, you need help with bookkeeping for a social enterprise, making meaning with metrics, we'll get into that, creating an impact statement, and at the next level, measuring your impact. Telling your story, it's so important in our day and age to be able to tell your story in a compelling manner, and financing your business, getting that next level, as well as personal consulting for companies. So so with that, our goal is to, in bringing awareness, is to have events and networking where we're getting out in the community, giving people the opportunity to talk to each other. So we have our CI for SI orientation every month, taught by the lovely Stacy Burns. She's amazing. And that's just a chance to, you're not sure, like, what's the next step? Well, come talk to us. We'd love to chat in person, right? Have that face-to-face conversation of what social enterprise is and what that might actually look like.